Welcome back, everyone, to the Laugh Track Podcast. I am Brandon Michael Max, and my guest today is...
Olivia Brennan.
All right, Olivia. So, as I said, how did I convince you to do this? This is...
Considering I'm wearing a collar online is, I have no
I
idea.
did not. That was all... You said that, and I was like, it's a Scooby-Doo one, right?
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know.
No, I'm just going to pull out like a black, like studded collar with a leash.
Just a
like...
bar. So, one thing I want to talk about right away is Devour, which was a winner at the
Brightside Tavern.
Brightside.
Yeah.
And I want to know what your kind of thought process behind making it was, and then the actual making of it. Because when I had watched that, it was the reason that I kind of asked you to come on to Maddox. So... what was it like doing that short and the intimacy behind it?
So Devour was technically my senior thesis at Montclair. I didn't do thesis because I got a BA instead of a BFA, but it was basically my thesis. And I had written it a few semesters prior. And I'm all about doing things that people tell me not to do in terms of filmmaking. And the teacher for that screenwriting class hated it. She was
really?
not a fan. Yeah, she didn't like it. I mean, it was kind of totally different at that point, but she hated it. And she's like, do not make this. And I was like, I'm going to make it anyway. So going into film 3, me being a blockhead, I walked into film 3 not realizing we were making a film in film 3 because it was labeled as directing actors. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be directing actors. This is great. And it didn't click in my brain. I'm making a film and directing actors. So I walk into class and my professor's like, so everybody should have their scripts already. And I was like, script? For what? I was like, oh, I have a script. So Devour was a journey. Let me put it that way. For those who don't know or haven't seen it, Devour has a really heavy intimate scene at the end and a mild intimate scene in the middle. And learning how to coordinate that was an experience.
So that's what it is, that you were learning how to do that prior to the short film.
Right, yeah.
And was it more or less learning that is what made you want to include that? Or was it just something where you're like, I know this has to be in there?
Yeah, so I knew it had to be in there. I wanted that moment because the whole film is kind of building up to that moment, and that moment gave the most stakes. So I know I needed something like that at the end. And I felt pretty comfortable with myself at that point. Can I say it's a sex scene?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, great.
I always like to point this out. Adrian talks about...
Can I swear?
Why does everyone ask that? Adrian always talks about how he got caught having sex with his girlfriend. That was on like the 3rd episode.
Okay, so yeah, it's a sex scene and she kills him. Spoiler. So the whole time I was like, I know I need a scene that has the most stakes. What would give it the most stakes? Oh, a sex scene. And I had coordinated small things, like kissing in sets. I was an assistant director on a play for the first time ever at the beginning of 2023. And there were some, not like sexually intimate moments, but intimate moments nonetheless between the characters. Yeah. So I had dabbled in intimacy coordinating before. So I was like, okay, I can put this in here. I will coordinate it. But now I have to learn how to do a sex scene and how to do a scene in a bath with 2 actors. And that's kind of where my knowledge met having to learn at the same time.
So breaking down each one, the scene in the bath, how is that handled? Because I imagine
that's funny.
It's like so weird having to ask questions where.
No, that's actually there was a lot of funny.
Put me
moments.
in that guy's situation. I'm wearing jeans in the bath.
First of all, he's 6'3", so he wouldn't be in that position. Yeah, so that, first of all, John was 6'3". It would have been a kiddie pool. We wouldn't have to worry about anything. We actually had to zoom in if you were there to like really see you in the tub. But John is 6'3". He's a tall guy, and
we're like the same height. Okay, got
it. Yeah, about. And Haley, I want to say Haley's 5'5" or 5'6". Please don't yell at me.
So we're like
I'm
the same
wrong.
height.
So, but they were both. I don't want to say that they're like they were both pretty tall people to fit in my apartment-sized bathtub.
Okay.
And Haley and John had come over for a rehearsal where we were specifically rehearsing the intimate scenes and blocking those so we didn't have to do those day of. And we started, we started with the bathtub because I was like, I need to get both of you in there and see how we're going to do this. Because obviously you can write things one way, but when it actually comes time to do them, it might be totally different.
Yeah.
And we found out that having Haley on the bottom and John sitting on her was the best way to fit them both in the tub because of John's legs. Oh, just wait. John's legs were literally like up the wall of my shower. And then keep in mind, it's full of water. She's literally like on his head. His legs are up the wall. They were both clothed too. For the actual filming. So John, he was shirtless and he had a bathing suit on. Haley was a little harder to dress for that scene because you see more of her and also you can't really wear a shirt in a bathtub. Yeah. So we ended up doing nipple pasties and we spirit gummed them to her body. Do you know what spirit gum is?
Like gum?
No. No. Spirit gum it's in a little bottle and it's basically like a prosthetic glue. Okay. So that shit won't move. Like do you know eyelash glue?
Yeah.
Stronger than that.
I probably should have said no. But
why do you know what eyelash glue is? So you didn't get that wig for the set, like for today?
It was in my closet.
Okay.
It was actually a long flowing one. I had to cut it.
Cut it, yeah. So we spirit gummed essentially like body safe super glue these nipple pasties to her, and then she had a bathing suit bottom on in the tub. And this was a very valuable lesson that I learned, that bubble bath is not a good thing to use on a film set because it doesn't make enough bubbles to cover what it needs to. So we ended up using a whole bottle of bubble bath and Dawn dish soap. And I had people on my crew in my kitchen making bubbles, and we like transplanted them onto different parts.
Bubble line?
Yes, yeah. They brought it in a big bucket, and I was sitting on the floor because my bathroom's small and it's an intimacy scene, so it was just Haley, John, me, our boom op, and our DP. So I'm sitting there on the floor and I'm picking up scoops of bubbles and putting them on her chest to cover and putting them in John's lap to cover the bathing suit. Yeah. And we like totally staged the entire bath scene. The bath was also boiling hot when they tried to get in it, so we had to cool it down.
See, I would think like a situation like that, you're like, oh, it's like a little jacuzzi. He's like, motherfucker.
No, like, Haley put her toe, like she like dipped her foot in to get in, and she's like, that's really hot. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, because we're like,
ice cold.
Yeah. We were like, we don't want you to be cold, so we made it hot. And then by the time we finished filming, we actually had to bring in several fans because they were getting like overheated between the lights and the tub. So we brought in a lot of fans in between and just like cooled them off. But
now when it comes to crew wise shooting that and then what was at the end of the film, is that like what we did for Maddox was, even though again it wasn't as intense as that, we ripped out anyone in that room who did not have to be in that room. Now was your crew small enough where it was everyone, or was it like a couple bodies step out, go take a walk or something?
So I think the crew for Devour ended up being in between 15 to 20, give or take, people. So we had a decent sized crew, but everybody knew that we were doing bare bones skeleton crew for these scenes. So for the bathtub, we had the people that we needed to be. The other people that didn't need to be there were in a different room. And then same for the sex scene, but the sex scene had a lot less. So when it came time for the sex scene, the only people in the room were me, Haley, John, my DP, and my sound guy. And I talked with Haley and John, and I was like, this is who I'm thinking about keeping in the room. Are you okay with that? Do you want less? Because we can, fix the boom. We can do whatever. Yeah. And it even came down, like, I think the boom did stay there the whole time. Yeah, we kept them in there the whole time. And we had my door shut. And I have one of those, like, sliding barn doors on that room. And the rest of the crew was in the living room. But they could hear everything. So they're hearing it.
Like that's like the most awkward thing. You just gotta sit there quietly.
Yes. I talked to that because like we would take breaks and whatnot, and my AD was sitting right outside the door so that we could yell, like this is this, take star that, move on. And everybody out there, when we finished and we came out of the room, they were like, we felt like we shouldn't be sitting out here. Like, we're listening to something we shouldn't. And then this is funny. It's a little tangent, but when we were done filming, we found the best take on the Zoom, and we had everybody in the crew put the headphones on.
Oh my God.
We could sell that for, like, good money. It is funny, yeah.
That's so, like, I'm, like, getting warm, like, thinking about how, like, fucking awkward, because...
Yeah.
Well, again, like, what had to be done for Maddox was, like, again, it seems like child's play to what you guys had to do, but for what it was weird having to... Well, I'll just say, like, so Liza and I had to kiss at one point, and you...
There was a decent kiss. There was movement.
She's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. No,
oh my God.
It's fine. It was just awkward because I'm like, this is like my fucking friend.
Yeah.
And
well, Haley and John were really close. They're friends.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. And I remember just being just so nervous, and also
I remember
it's not kissing my friend. That's weird. It's then turning around, looking at the actress playing my roommate, and then just the crew. Yeah. Like, you got to turn around to an audience. And again, we were cool. Like, we were cool and understanding about it. But I remember the first time being like, oh, that's a little jarring. That's a little...
Yeah. Thankfully, I can totally see that. And I got to say that's probably...
I think you were, like, sitting at my kitchen table.
I was, like, in the corner, just like, hey, I'm, like, with my phone, just, like, recording. No, I mean, that's why I'm, like, a big proponent of get all the people that don't need to be here out. But I think Maddox worked well.
It did. It looks, and in the moment, I'm like, this, how does this even look? Because I can't see anything. It's like, there's so many just restrictions on just, like, let's make sure it's done and just get in a position and do it quick and make sure it's correct. Where when we got the footage back, I was like, oh, thank God, it looks good. I was so fucking relieved.
Yeah.
But when you were doing your end scene of Devour, what'd you do for the actors? Just like I said, it was for the bathtub, it was like the bottoms and then just covering up with the bubble bath and everything. How do you go about doing it with the bedroom scene?
It was actually really similar. John...
You put bubbles on him?
Yeah. John was in shorts because he's covered with a blanket from waist down pretty much the whole time. For people that haven't watched, John is laying down and Haley's on top and like sitting on him. So John was in shorts. Haley was in shorts as well. And then same thing, we replaced the nipple pasties because after the bath, the whole second day of filming was intimacy scenes, except for the first one. We left so much time on that second day to do those two scenes because we knew that they would take the longest. So the bathtub was first, and they got to shower after that and kind of like take a break. We broke for dinner and then went in and was filming that last scene. So Haley got new nipple pasties and was in shorts. John was in shorts. And then when we actually got on the bed to, really block and see how we were going to do everything, Haley got on top, and then the way that we positioned the blankets to cover both of their shorts, we noticed in one take in post-production, we didn't end up using it anyway, but there was only one mishap where the blanket slipped and you could see her shorts. Okay. So thankfully everything kind of worked well. And then, in between shots and when we would take a break and reset the camera, both actors had robes that I literally had both robes standing there watching the scene. And as soon as I yelled cut, it was like, here's your robes. Like, I'm not going to make you sit there naked the whole time.
Now, as you directed that, did you have a sense of like calmness because they knew each other, or would you have preferred them not to know each other, or it's the exact same thing?
I don't think that mattered so much as to why I was so... I didn't eat dinner before. I was so, nauseous. I was so scared to film this scene. I went outside in the cold and just stood out there for, 15 minutes because I was so anxious. It was great that Haley and John knew each other. They had done stunt work together before, so they were very familiar with, boundaries and consent and making sure each other were comfortable. And I'm so thankful that they did know each other. And I think that helped with how smoothly it went, because having two actors that don't know each other have to do simulated sex, is horrifying.
Yeah.
So the fact that they knew each other was great, and they knew me. I had worked with Haley on that play that I talked about before, and I met John a couple weeks before, and as soon as I met him, I knew I wanted him in that role, and the fact that they knew each other was just a bonus. So it kind of worked out, thankfully.
And then your day on Maddox was, what was the prep for that? Because we had done a rehearsal day, to which, to Eliza, it was just another day.
To you, what?
I had never done anything to this extent before, which I always say, like, nothing prepares you, especially because Eliza and I were friends and everything. Mm-hmm. Like, I wrote it. Like, I knew it was coming. Like,
yeah, that's how, I wrote that scene, and I was, like, freaking out about doing it. I was like, why the hell did I write this?
That's what I'm saying. I was like, do I have the right to be nervous right now? Like,
you wrote and cast yourself. Like, what the heck?
But when you came on to Max, was it, what was your prep for this sort of thing? Because a lot of the things that you taught Eliza and I, we ended up doing on another day where we didn't have the access to an intimacy coordinator, but we had that calmness and trust within each other. Mm-hmm. So what was the prep for that?
So prepping for Maddox was, in comparison to Devour, a lot simpler. I don't want to say it was easier because all scenes have their own challenges, but it was simpler in terms of everybody was keeping their clothes on. We didn't have to worry about, stuff with that. So really, and kind of how I prep for any intimacy scene that I'm working with is I get the script, I kind of look everything over, break it all down, highlight the moments and moments before, and then just kind of, I think about how I would have the blocking. That's kind of my director side, is how I would see this happening. Mm-hmm. And then talking with the director and asking them how they see it happening and kind of, collaborating on that. But, I knew Eliza, and I knew that Eliza had experience. I didn't know you, or if you had experience with something like that. Quickly. I did find out, yeah. So, to me, you can't really prepare for how people are going to react when you get onto set. It's just kind of knowing, okay, you could walk into a situation where people are so uncomfortable and you really have to chip away at that. Or, there was really good vibes on that set. We were joking the whole time, and I think that kind of helped. So, it's kind of just preparing all the what ifs and then dealing with them.
Because, I was not the calmest.
You were better than some people I've worked with.
I have questions for that.
Okay.
But that was the thing is, like, I remember thinking I was so calm, and I was like, oh yeah, we're about to rehearse.
I saw right through you. The way you were pacing, you couldn't stay in one spot. You would have thought your feet were on fire. You're like, so are we gonna do the kiss scene? Can I go brush my teeth first?
I was so fucking nervous. It was like, because I remember, like, when we were doing that game, it was, and Eliza and I talked about where it was like, touch your shoulder, touch your arm and everything. I remember she had to be the one to be like, can I kiss you? And again, I'm looking my friend dead in the face. I was like, I know your boyfriend and everything. And I remember in that moment being like, yo, who the fuck are you?
Can you
like,
kiss me? No!
No! Like, yeah. Like, what's wrong with you? You fucking crazy? But being on set, has there been a interaction that has not gone well with certain actors or how they handled the situation?
So I wouldn't say that it didn't go well, because it did go well, and, day of set went great. Like, everything in the end worked out, but I have had some experiences where rehearsals take a really long time, because, we're breaking down people's either insecurities, traumas, boundaries, and just kind of, dealing with that. So I had a couple sets, and I'm going to be pretty vague in case anybody's watching, because I never want people to feel like embarrassed or anything. So just in like a vague sense, I've had several rehearsals where doing that exercise takes forever to get to that point, like hours to get to that point, to be able to say, can I touch certain things? And I can't remember if I had Eliza and you do this, but the one where you just gradually close the distance. Did I do that one with you?
That, yeah.
So an exercise like that, I've had.
I remember we were in my room and you had said like, because we were getting ready to film.
Yep.
And I remember we were very close at one point. I remember just whispering, "I hate you." And she was like, I was about to say the same thing.
See, but that works. I mean, but I've had that exercise take 26 minutes.
Not that you're counting.
I was timing it because I was like, I want to tell them how long this took, just to because when you're in a moment like that, you might not know.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there watching you do this for 26 minutes and finally get not even making contact, just getting close. It's like,
how far did they start? Opposite ends of a football field?
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of. But it was all because, people are nervous. And I will never rush you because, like, I tell everyone I work with, like, you're driving these exercises. Like, you're in control of how long or how short these are. So I'm just sitting there watching and I'm timing and I'm just looking and I'm like, wow, I have my work cut out for me a little bit. I was like, okay, we got some work to do. And it all worked out in the end. And I think I haven't seen the finished product yet because it's still in post, but it turned out good.
And the scene that was for, was it, like Maddox level? Was it, and not that it changes anything.
No, it was for, there were, how many? Like 1 or 2 kissing scenes and, like cuddling and close. So it wasn't, a sex scene, but it wasn't a full-on makeout thing. But neither of the actors had any experience with an intimacy scene before, which is totally expected to have a rehearsal like that when you haven't gone through it before. Yeah. Eliza being familiar with it, with Maddox, she also kind of took control of it. And it's like, I'm not going to be here all day.
Yeah.
we're gonna listen to you and your concerns, but we're also not gonna be here all day.
When I was telling Dom about, like, it was the night before and I was like really nervous and everything, and I was like, oh no, it feels weird, and I was like really second guessing myself, and he goes, oh no, you get to kiss Eliza. Boo fucking who? It's a good way of looking at it.
Didn't I ask you? I was like, have you ever kissed a girl before? Because what's the problem?
Yeah. I remember you asking that, and I was like, "The fuck that mean?"
It means kiss the girl, like.
But that's the thing is, having that comfortable set definitely helped out a lot. Mm-hmm. And you had done previous short films before. Now, handling an actor who has a more intensive scene, whether it's like a breakdown or something, do you find that it's very similar, or is there a different way of going about that to making sure that they don't go too far, but they're giving the performance they want?
Actually, all of my films have had some scene of intense emotion, and I think I have finally figured out what I like to do for those through like the experience of them. I will, in the rehearsals and, communicating with the actors beforehand, I'll answer any questions that they have, talk to them about it. Usually I make sure that they have done something like that before. And if they haven't, really communicate with them with what I'm expecting. And, if there's a scene, if I ever write that an actor sobs or they're crying, I say to the actor, look, I'm not married to that. If you can't get there, but your emotions still show me a similar thing, great. It's like, I'm not going to force you to cry. Yeah. But, day of that scene and before that scene, I will put the actor in a room by themselves. And I'm like, you take whatever time you need to kind of prepare mentally for that. And you let me know when you're ready to have to do that intense of a reaction. Like Haley cries in that last scene of Devour. And when I say she cries, I mean she cries in that last scene of Devour. So I did the same thing. We filmed all of the sex scene and then kicked John out. And I let Haley have the space to kind of, collect. And Haley, because doing that scene multiple times before we filmed the actual breakdown, it was building with her. And she's a fantastic actor. So they really, got there with themselves. But the scene in Legato, one of my first short films, the actor, throughout the whole film, he's distraught. His dad had just died and he's at a funeral. And sitting in his car, just kind of going through and processing grief. Yeah. And I actually got a crit that the scene of him finally breaking and crying and like hitting the steering wheel was melodramatic. And I think she was so wrong. And everybody that watches it also thinks that she was so wrong. So I didn't listen to her and I kept it in the film.
There you go.
But same thing is like I gave him the space to do what he needed to do to get there. And in terms of, you know, it's similar to intimacy scenes, whereas like really checking in with the person and making sure they're okay, making sure that they get the type of like aftercare type. I know that's usually like an aftercare thing. Like, you know, after we film the scene, one-on-one like little chat, be like, so hey, like how are you feeling, like what can I get you? That's a big thing. It's like during these scenes I'm always asking what I can get people, water, whatever, you know, just keeping them calm, cool, collected type. But
see, I would find it so interesting for you to direct an episode of Maddox, because
it'd be so different.
When we filmed the pilot, there's that one scene where like Brand's having like a little bit of a breakdown, you know, he's upset and everything. And at one point, Jaden he was like, just throw yourself on the bed or something like that. Like we were just getting like extra footage. And I went to do it, my foot slipped, and I laid it on my head first.
Just smash into the bed.
And you hear every bone in my neck crack.
That must have felt good.
It felt so fucking good. And I remember I flopped to the ground and I like get up real quick and Jane's like, keep going. I was like, no, it's okay. I'm not fucking dead. Like,
see, okay, because like I have moments like that in Devour, for example. There's a scene when they're eating dinner at the kitchen table, and John...
Watched it multiple times before having you on, by the way.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Just to be able to talk
I can't watch it anymore. I literally can't watch that film anymore. Like, whenever it plays at a festival, I'm like, oh, my God, I can't look at you anymore. Because I pick it apart. I can't watch it.
Yeah.
But John had to fake choke, and, you know, he has experience with stunts and things like that. So I talked to him. He's like, oh, I'm totally comfortable doing this. The choke ends up, you know, not being real, whatnot. But... when we were filming, how we filmed that is, you know, John did it all the way through, that fake choke, and then we kept going with the scene, and then we filmed the quote-unquote real choke separately. And as we're filming the scene, John starts that fake choke early, and I'm looking at him. I look at my AD because, like, and I look at Scripty, and I'm looking, and, you know, it came early, and it goes on for a while. And then he ends up being, sorry, I'm actually choking. And I'm like, John, oh my God. So we like run in water. He's like, I'm okay. But he's like, I'm sorry. Like it happened early. Like a piece of steak like went down the wrong pipe because they're actually eating. And I was like, John, are you okay? He's like, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Doing a great
and
job.
he was like, I just, I was like, wow, that's so believable. But like he was fine, you know. He was like, I'm sorry, I didn't want to like mess up the take. I wanted to try to keep going, but I need a drink of water. I'm like, you're fine, you're choking.
Actor right there.
And then I'm not gonna lie, after I went up to John, I was like, do you mind if we use that take in the film? He was like, no, please. I'm like, it was just so realistic. He's like, well, because I was choking.
You'd rather that than you walk up afterwards and you're like, shit wasn't believable.
Sorry, dude. You gotta really try harder.
Did you not fucking overdo it?
But so he actually choked, and I was like, I mean, we kept going because it wasn't a choke where he couldn't breathe, where I saw he was in distress until he said it, because it was like, you know, when you
still feeling.
I know. Imagine he. Oh no, I don't want to imagine that.
You're like, well, great.
Yeah. Well, shit. I need a new actor. Like.
Guess that's lunch.
Oh yeah, I guess we're breaking. Where's the coroner? Like, but he ended up being fine. But that was a moment where, and like I said, I always let my actors drive. Like, if you're ever on set with me directing, you'll notice that I let the scene go out for a while before I cut. Like they sat there eating for like 30 seconds before I called cut. I'm like, I just want you to live in that scene for a while. So I kind of let them drive until John like interrupted. He was like, okay, I need water. I was like, okay.
And you know what's funny? I realized that is so smart to do, because when we would first start Maddox, like, scene was done, all right, we cut.
Yeah.
Scene, cut. And then we realized we're just losing so much.
You don't give yourselves cushion either. Like
that as well.
Yeah.
And also with it being a comedy, like, You got 30 seconds. Come up with something. Some of the funniest things have just happened
after.
Exactly. If someone just saying something under their breath or to a character, like it was me and Emily, who plays my roommate, and we finished the scene, but Jane was like, "I'll just go for an extra couple seconds." And I went to offer her a piece of bacon, and when I pulled my hand back, I dropped it right into my coffee. And
wait, that's so funny.
It's making the final cut, but you just see me throw my hand down, and I was just like, "That's fucking good."
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I also, since doing that, I doctor a lot of my scenes. So as you're watching them, that's not how they were filmed. Like that dinner scene, there's a moment where it goes back and forth between them eating and saying nothing for a while. And I'm the type of director, I love those like long drawn out things. You've probably noticed on like the works you've watched. And that's part of my style. So I went in post and I took moments and put them in. They didn't exist. I built them in there. I was like, I wanted more space. Like I wanted a bigger beat and it didn't happen on set. So I'm going to make the beat. That's why like recording for so long after, I could steal and like make my own beats in post.
Now, when you write a script and you have, actors are on set and everything, are you one to be firmly to the script and it's like, no, this line is important, or if it's a slight adjustment, you kind of just see it in the moment to see what works and what's more comfortable, or are you very like hard on what you wrote?
Very what? Very hard on? Sorry, I am 12 years old. Anyway,
it's a very Brandon moment right there.
Good question. I mean, I'm not. And I love this term.
Tough on there.
Yikes. I love this term because I'm not it. I just think it's so funny. A meat puppet director. Have you heard of that? No. It sounds awful. Meat puppet directing are the directors that are like, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, and you're not to do anything else. Like they control every single thing the actor does. And I think that that's awful. What I do is, I give them the script and I say, like, I expect you to be off book, but I'm not married to the dialogue. So when we have rehearsals and if something doesn't sound right, I'll change it. Or if they're like, hey, I think this might work better, I listen to them. And if I agree, like, I change it. And then when we're actually filming, I don't know if everything was exactly as written. I don't think it was, but it didn't matter because it fit. And it had this same feelings behind it as what I had written. So if things get mildly ad-libbed, that's fine. Maddox frustrated me so bad, and I had no idea how you were going to edit that because he had every scene different. Every scene was, I could never.
Just remember, you were on set for one day?
Yeah.
That happened on every single day.
No, I could not do that.
At some point, the bit became like, after a couple of takes,
Why'd you write a script?
One person would minimum look at the camera like, good luck to who's ever edited it. We had to edit a scene where it's me, Sarah, and Emily. It is a Frankenstein of a scene. But like, no, it works. But like, Jade and I were like ripping hair out like, they don't fucking say the same thing twice.
No, I don't know how you could. Like, I have had, granted, everything is the same except maybe one or two lines. And when I'm editing, I'm pissed. I'm like, why did we never get another take of them saying that line? Because now I can't edit on the line. I'm like, I can't do it now. Like, I need to do something else. So having every single line be different, I'm not editing. Not my problem. I had to tell myself that on your set. Like at one point, I think we were like 4 takes in. And I was like, Olivia, you're not editing it. Olivia, you're not directing it. You're fine. You're fine.
Jaden's big thing was always, he's like, I'm not editing this. I'm not editing. And then one night I was like, you got to come over.
Can you edit?
No. And I tell you, like, he's sitting in my computer. He's like, I just hear him like fucking
pissed.
But I could tell he's like, once it was like all together, it's like, oh my God, this is funny. Like, these are the best of the takes or whatever. He's like, this takes too fucking long.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, I love my scripts, but I'm not married to them in terms of if you think a line sounds better, change the line. As long as we get to the same endpoint, change the line.
If you think the scene sounds better,
change the scene. Dude, why?
We had to get rid of a whole scene because of a location change.
Okay.
And that was insane because it was revolving around this bar, and we had the bar locked down.
Right.
day of shooting, 20 minutes after we were supposed to get in, they canceled on us.
Why?
Yeah.
Just because?
Because the owner didn't feel like coming in that day.
Oh, great. Drop the name. Dox them.
No,
tell me the bar.
No, because they have like an IOU on me. They're like, whenever you need to come back. And I was like, I'm fucking using shit out of that.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Eliza. It might have been Eliza or Dom. I don't remember who said it. But someone said, like, when all this happened, I just got real quiet and I just, like, grabbed Fiona and Jane and brought them to the car. And they were like, I've never been more scared of you in my life.
Yeah, if I go silent on a set, run. That's
when you know shit has hit the fan.
Yeah.
But we had to change because it was like we had an actress who was ready to be the bartender, and like it was all like not bar dialogue, but
essentially.
Yeah. So now we had to go change it to like a party, and quite literally on the way there, like I'm scribbling notes and like Jaden's texting me, sending me things. I would say for a good 2 hours, like we were just setting up camera, like we don't know what we're gonna film. But
yeah.
Like, and at one point he's like, "You know, guys are friends. Go." Okay. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I had to really shit.
Sounds like a nightmare to me, but okay.
It was a fucking day. So now, had you ever had something like that happen on one of your sets or a set you were on of just someone taking it and just being like, "Hey, here's a whole fucking curveball"?
So thankfully, I haven't really experienced a curveball to that extent of my set. Because, well, I am like OCD out the ass and I freak out if even like one thing is out of place when it comes to stuff like that. I think just like, I've heard of people, you know, at Montclair that have had like their locations canceled. I've had many people that have had their locations canceled and I'm like, Godspeed. I hope you figure that out. But it's like, I haven't had it where my location got canceled. I had it where things take so long that continuity is screwed up. And that's like, I know that sounds like not a big deal at all.
There's so many continuity mirrors in Maddox.
Oh my God, I'm going to blow. I don't know if I can watch it. But for example,
real quick,
tell me.
There is one shot where I walk into a door with pure white shoes. Next shot, I'm wearing a totally different pair of shoes.
No.
Jaden didn't know. We were watching and he's like, I didn't notice.
I will tell you, if you can't watch movies or anything with me because I find all of them. And I will tell you every single thing that is wrong. And I'm like, where was the script supervisor? Where were they?
It's like we're trying to watch Schindler's List. What are we doing here?
But in my one film that is still in post-production from 2022, we were going to be filming at a diner in my hometown. And the whole plan was, you know, it was a breakfast place. They're going for breakfast. So in the daylight, they're coming from essentially an AA group, but it's for domestic violence. So they're coming from a church in their group to a breakfast place. And we were filming pickup shots at the church that morning. And by the time we got to the diner, it's also November, it starts to get dark. And then by the time we finished, it was dark, fully dark. So thankfully, we ended up getting everything in the dark. So it kind of all worked. We just changed course. Yeah. And I changed a line in the script that was like, wow, breakfast for dinner. Like they serve breakfast all day. That's like great. Like something along those lines. So it worked. But that was one thing that I did have such a bad experience. Like a curveball. On this film.
You're getting war flashbacks right now?
Yes. I was crying. Like inconsolable, crying, freaking out. It was that day. This is how, like, I just jogged my own memory. I had a person doing boom for the pickup shots at the church. They had never done boom before, nothing like that. They got a crash course from my AD. I love them. This wasn't their fault, and it all got worked out in the end. So it was totally fine. But
good cover.
No, I love them. They're great. They've worked on all of my other films. It wasn't their fault. It was somebody else that I'm not going to name because I don't know if they're going to see this. I get in the car after the pickup shots, and we're on our way from the church to the diner. And I'm like, okay, give me the Zoom, give me the SD. I'm dumping all of this, the sound files so that we have a full SD for the diner. Okay. I'm like trying to remember. I can feel myself sweating. This is horrendous. I plug in the SD.
What time is it at this point?
Oh.
No, not right now. No, not right now.
This is probably coming up on like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Okay, so you're about midday.
Midday.
Okay.
And so I plug in the SD card, and I open the file. There's like 12 folders on this Zoom. So I open the first one, empty. I open the second one, empty. Third, empty, empty, empty. They're all empty. And that SD card was from the day before with all my sound from an entire day of filming.
You're like
I almost canceled.
Recording now.
I almost canceled right then and there. I almost like threw the whole project in the trash, and I put so much money in. I was pissed beyond belief, and I'm texting people, and we get to the location, and I go up to said crew member, and I was like, "Did you authorize a format on this card?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you mean, yeah?" I was like, "That had all of our." I need to breathe. So I was like, "Okay, we can't throw it all away. We have to keep going, whatever." And I'm talking to, Rich, who was playing the lead. I was talking to a bunch of other people. I was like, I'll deal with it later. They're gone. I can't do anything about it right now. So we went in and we filmed, got home, still freaking gone. And thankfully I knew somebody from when I lived in New York, and I was like, help me. I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
We got them back. Don't ask me how. I have no
Magic.
idea. I have no idea how we got those sound files back, but we got them. We're missing some, but we got them back. And I'm like, oh my God, bless you. Like, oh my, that was my biggest curveball.
That is my biggest fear. For reference, like, I didn't realize how big files are.
Oh my God.
So I was just uploading Maddox files to like my desktop.
No.
So to which first day of shooting, Jane's like, don't fucking do that.
Don't do that. No,
So
don't do that.
I bought the 8 terabyte that he has. Quite literally, there was one day I took his. All of Maddox is in my 8 terabyte and his. And I was like, so if God forbid I ever got struck by fucking lightning.
You have it still.
You have it.
That's smart. I don't do that. That's smart.
So, because when we were filming Maddox, I lived in the apartment we filmed in.
Right. I remember.
Which we're actually allowed to go back to.
I don't know what happened with that. We could talk later.
Oh, no. I just,
okay.
Well, moved out.
Okay.
Swimmingly, everyone still loved each other. And,
okay.
But I'm still cool with the landlord. So I was like, hey, can we film at the apartment again? She's like, yeah, let me know when. I was like, fuck yeah.
Okay, yeah, great. Okay.
Love you, Jen. Jen's the best. So
my landlords didn't know I filmed in my apartment for Devour, and they never will. Well, they might now.
It's your lease. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, who cares?
So I moved, and then I moved into another location for like 3 months or so. And then I moved into my now apartment. That, like, you should have seen the amount of bubble wrap that was around that terabyte. Like, at one point, I think my dad picked it up.
Did you put it in a box?
I put it in a box. This thing, you would have thought it was like the keys
bomb.
to like.
A bomb.
It was like the way this thing was packaged. At one point, my dad picked it up and I was like, put it down.
I'm the only one touching that.
I was like, that is like my fucking life's work right there.
Yeah, my baby's on that drive. Like,
well, then he pulls one of these. I was like, no, that's like all of Maddox and like a bunch of laugh track files. And he's like, in this thing? I was like, put it down. I was like, put it down. I was like, if you and I fight, you'll probably win. But I'll put up I was like, put down the box. No, I was like, and then when I moved into my new apartment, I couldn't find it. And immediately I'm thinking it's either at the old place, it's in my dad's truck, or I'm about to like blow
kill
up.
myself.
I try to avoid saying that.
I'm killing myself.
That, like, then that's why I took Jaden's thing. I was like, I need this to be in a second. I go, if you take it home and delete everything, go right ahead. But in peace of mind knowing it was somewhere.
It's there. Yeah.
Now I feel myself getting like...
I'm like worked up remembering that story. I think I just gave myself like flashbacks. I did.
Because there was one episode of the podcast I did and the files weren't downloading. And I was like, tell me I got fucking corrupted files. I like came here with like my laptop and just took it directly from like the camera and the audio system. So now every time they send me files, nothing on these guys or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fucking Dropbox. And I fucking hate Dropbox.
Oh my God.
Unless they want to sponsor. But then...
Use WeTransfer. Use WeTransfer.
What
WeTransfer?
I thought like WII, like the console.
WeTransfer files.
What's that on?
WeTransfer.
Oh, is that just it? I thought it was like Google or something.
WeTransfer and its own website.
No, so that's the thing is, can we get food after this? My stomach's been growling.
Yes.
I don't know if it's picking up on the mic, but I haven't eaten. I was writing with Eliza earlier.
I didn't eat today. Oh, no, I did. Oh my God, I went to the diner that I filmed at. I have the worst memory ever.
How did you lock down a diner?
Oh, that was funny. It was actually not, I worked myself up. I was like, they're going to tell me no. They're going to tell me no. The diner's called Gronski's. It's in Highbridge. And I would go there all the time. It's the best ice cream spot. It's half ice cream, half like diner. They do breakfast and lunch only, and it's hard to get in there. And so I couldn't use the diner on campus because Montclair's policies for filming on campus was a nightmare, and I will not ever do that. Okay. So I was like, okay, where can I go? And I went to a couple diners, and I'm like, I don't like how they look like. Gronski's is like old-fashioned, rustic farmhouse diner. Like, it has such a distinct like image. Mm-hmm. So I like dressed all nice. I had Rich, who was the one lead with me, literally a blazer. I looked like a freak walking into rural bumfuck diner. So I'm walking in and I'm like having an anxiety attack. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I had the script in hand. I had all the information. I had all of this stuff that they might want. I walk in and I'm like, hey, I'm a filmmaker. I grew up in the area. I would love to use Gronski's in my short film. Who can I talk to? They're like, oh, like, the owner's not here, but, like, here's his number. Text him. And it was, like, his wife that I was talking to. And I was like, okay. No answer. And then she walked away. They were so busy. And I was like, okay. I texted the number, panic. It was one of those things where I hit send and, like, threw my phone across the room. Yeah. Hit send. Basically, this long book, like, being like, can I use the diner? Like, here's everything. I can send you the script. I can send you whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Smiley face.
Literally. They text me back, and they're like, okay, sounds good. When? I was like, this weekend? And they're like, okay, like after hours. And I'm like, perfect. Do you want the script? No. I'm like, okay. And I got
Devour is set in a diner now.
And then I got the location, and it's so funny because I found out that so they have cameras in the place, like all businesses do. And I found out after because they came by as we were wrapping and closing. And they were like, oh, yeah, we were watching you guys on the cameras. We want to see what you were up to. Like, we were watching you guys film. We thought it was so cool. I was like, you're watching us, like, tape shit to your walls and put a grip up outside. Like,
that's always the big thing. Because when we filmed at an event space. Yeah. And the biggest thing was, like, they're like, don't put any tape on the walls. And I said, what kind of tape?
Because I have a whole, you pull up the entire rope of, like, 80 different types of tape.
That's exactly what we had. We had every single color. And I was like, what about these tapes? And
we'll paint the walls if we chip it.
I was like, this is meant to like not pull paint off or whatever. And they're like, as long as nothing comes off. And I told him, I was like, you guys use the littlest. I was like, you sliver the tape so it gets it done. And then it was that. And they had cameras as well where they were like, how's it filming? I'm like, oh, you can watch on the cameras. Like, we don't care. I was like, all right.
Oh my God. I have such a funny story.
Go ahead.
I was filming in an Airbnb for the film that's in post. It's called Solace. That might change. But we were filming that. I'm just tired of saying the film in 2022. But we were filming a scene in Solace, and we were in an Airbnb. And without saying too much, because obviously the film isn't out, I'll tell you after. But there's a scene that required like a lot of tape on the ceilings. And in one specific room. And we were using gaff tape. Because it kept coming off the ceiling. And this was a type of Airbnb. I really was trying to find an Airbnb that we would have the whole space, but the only one that I could find was the owner lived downstairs. And we were in the upstairs part of the Airbnb. Okay. The guy was great. Like, he knew we were filming. We talked about it with him. And so he knew. As we were setting up that scene, like, obviously I didn't tell him we're putting tape on your wall. But as we're setting up that scene, because that scene took an hour or 2 hours to set, I hear a knock, and I'm like, where's that knock coming from? And there was a door that had a thing that said, do not open, because, like, that was the door that led downstairs into, like, his house. Okay. And I hear another knock, pause, another knock, and one of my crew is like, it's coming from the door. And I was like, what do you mean it's coming from the door? What do you mean? What do you mean? And I'm like,
let me out.
I'm like, okay. Deep breath in again. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, go in the room and keep setting, whatever. So I open the door, and the guy's like, hey, like, how's it going? The cheeriest man I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, it's going great. We're actually setting up for a scene. Want to see? Why'd I do that? I was like, do you want to see it? And he was like, yeah, sure. He walks into the scene. And he's like, oh, not at the tape at the wall, but like what we were setting up that required the tape. So I'm telling him a little bit about the film, and he's just like, okay, because it's psychological thriller type thing. And he was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
It's like, who the
was
fuck
like,
did I rent to?
So then when we like cleaned up and like moved out of the Airbnb and left, I
Yeah.
wrote on a piece of like, I wrote a whole piece of paper like thanking him and like telling him about like the film, whatever. And I put my business card. I'm like, I'll send you the film. Taped it on his door and left. I was like, oh my God.
Peace out.
No, for real. I was like, none of the tape ripped off the ceiling. We were good, but it was horrifying.
That's one thing. I guess I've never been in that position where you had to like. I know a ton of people who've rented out Airbnbs to get like a filming location.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Am I like the weird one to be like, just come over to my apartment? Like,
no, I love that, and it's like that's what we ended up doing because I needed so many like apartments, like houses, because we ended up filming at my apartment in Nutley that I was at the time. We filmed at my dad's house in New York, like New York City. So we filmed at an apartment in New York. We filmed at my apartment, and I was like, I need one more house. It's essentially more homey than an apartment. So I was like, I need an Airbnb. And like we worked it into the budget and it was fine. And so we rented. But like a lot of Airbnbs have issues with people filming.
yeah,
They're like, we don't want you doing anything like that. We don't want a lot of people in the house. So I was very clear with the guy because like I've done my fair share of just going and not telling anybody. And it's fine, but also like bad karma.
It's
so
the college filmmaking.
Yeah. But this guy was cool with it. So but like the fact he was knocking on the door just like unprompted, I was like, oh my God. As we're setting that scene.
Yeah, see, that's why, like, when we filmed it, my first apartment, like, I just let the landlord know, like, hey, listen. I was like, a lot of people are going to be here. We're going to be filming this thing.
Yeah.
She wanted to see the script, but she was like, I don't care what you're filming. She's like, I just want to read it.
Okay.
I was like, chilling, all right.
Okay, great. Here.
And I remember, like, at one point, she, like, kind of same thing. She was like, can I let the dog out? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'll let him out for you. Like, and I remember, no, I don't think you were there that day. We had him on his, like, leash thing so he could walk around. Every crew member that walked by would like grab a bag or whatever, and they're like, "Is that a dog?" And like he was getting so much attention.
Yeah. Well, that was like when I was filming Devour. I had 2 cats in that apartment, and we weren't supposed to, but I did, and they're both black cats. Whatever. So they look the same. They knew we had one of them. Anyway, shout out to my management company that I don't have anymore, so I'm fine. But we put both of the cats in the one room that we weren't using, and one of my cats' name is Sabrina. That's crucial because in the room that we were filming the sex scene, I had a
teenage witch.
She's a black cat. I didn't name her, so
okay.
I'm not that basic. I love her. She's the sweetest thing ever. But I had a massive whiteboard, and when I mean massive, I mean like it's like 6 feet tall by like 4 feet. It's huge. Oh, I hit the camera. I'm sorry. So we had to. It was screwed to my door, so we unscrewed it and we put it in the hallway because it was reflecting too much light because it's white. Put it out there. All of the crew that couldn't be in the sex scene was doodling and drawing all over the whiteboard, and I kept that forever. Like a lot of it got wiped off when I moved.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things on there was a giant bubble that said "Free Sabrina" because she was locked in the room. But they all loved them. Like they were going in the room during those things where like they weren't needed, but we needed them later, so they had to stay.
Yeah.
So they were all like all over my cats.
No, and that's one thing that it's like. We had to film, so we had wrapped production on Maddox, but we needed one more day because we forgot a scene. So it was quite literally Jaden, Gavin, me, Adrian.
Okay.
And I just happened to know of this office space that we could film in that I have access to, and through a friend.
Okay.
And I just happen to have the key. And
okay.
We filmed in like this one office space, and we made it look like kind of like the back room of a comedy club and everything.
Okay.
And there was a whiteboard, and Jane's like, what do they usually write on whiteboards at comedy shows? I'm like, you ever been to a fucking comedy show? When have you seen a whiteboard? I was like, but I go to a comedy club I've been to, they have a chalkboard. I'm like, so we can just write like who's the lineup or whatever, make it as realistic as possible. But for what we did in that, it's, again, maybe because it's a comedy and I'm not too stressed about it, whatever. Hearing what goes on with like, I hate to say more professional sets, but it's so interesting because I, again, would love to see a spin on it where someone who's very by the books or when you get more intensive with it. You know what I mean?
Was that a jab at me?
No.
Okay.
It's a jab at Jaden. No, my favorite thing Jaden would do is he'd look at the script. He'd see what has to be done in the scene. I'll explain. He goes, that's just fucking film it. I'm like,
Okay.
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 The amount of times he's told me to do something,
And that's
like,
why every scene is different.
but it's funny.
Yeah. I need to watch it. I haven't seen any of it.
We have like 10 minutes edited. Sorry, I had to like think about it.
I was like, what's happening? What gears are turning right now? Like,
I also don't know how to color grade, and that's my biggest thing.
I'm awful. I also don't know how to color grade. I'm trying. I get somebody to do it for me.
I just use like the presets on DaVinci.
Okay.
And like, I've tried adjusting it, but nothing changes. So I just kind of stare at the thing and I'm like, I'm wasting time.
It's like, okay, I'm just like...
I watched so many YouTube videos.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had to call my buddy Evan. I'm like, can you color grade? He's like, yeah, when do you need me? I'm like a week ago.
Yeah, like, come on, get over here right now, please. I mean, what's great is my DP from Devour. He was also the colorist for Devour.
Okay.
And they, like, at the end... Oh, my God, this was the best thing ever. Obviously, we shot in raw 4K, so everything has, you know, like how that looks like very... Yeah. So, usually, I'm used to seeing dailies, stills, and stuff in that way, like that really dull, whatever. Oh, my God, I can't thank Josh enough. He would go home that night and send me color-graded dailies. And... like actually seeing it, I think that made me so much more excited to go to the next day, that it was looking exactly like my lookbook. Yeah. I was just like, can you color grade the whole film? And he was like, yeah. I was like, great, please. Like, I want you to.
See, and what's so interesting, because when you like watch back like Devour.
Go on.
Is it kind of similar to like, did you do like a rough cut of like Devour?
Always, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How much of that would you say has changed? Like, was anything cut out majorly in Devour?
No. Thankfully, everything for the most part was kept the same. The only things that, you know, were mildly changed from the rough cut to the final cut was, you know, ordering of clips here and there. Like, not necessarily changing whole lines of dialogue, but, you know, making a longer beat, like deleting something I didn't need. The soundscape changed the most, and I actually just remastered it before I submitted to some bigger festivals, and I'm in love with it. I sent you the remastered one. So much better than, I don't know if you watched it before, but I could also send it to you. Made all the difference. So that was like the biggest thing editing wise. It wasn't that I got rid of footage. I completely changed the soundscape, and it made it an entirely different film. There's
one shot, because again, I rewatched it before meeting up, and the one shot where it's when they're in the bedroom, she was like kissing him, but his phone's going off, and she like looks up. I was like, that's a fire shot.
I loved that shot.
That's like,
oh my God, it's my favorite. Oh. My favorite still of that film is that. I use it way too much because it's so good. Like, not to like brag about it. It was all my DP, to be honest. I was like, this is my vision. Help me. Oh my God. Crazy.
No,
crazy. Like,
I remember watching it being like, ooh. I was like, yes.
It made you feel something in like a good or bad way, because it's like, it's such an intimate moment, and she just stared almost directly at you as the viewer with like that look, and like, oh my God. Like,
now, what is your next like dream project that you want to work on?
Dream project? Well, I'm writing a feature, and I think I'm at a point where I want to try to get myself away from shorts. Not that I have anything. I love short. I'm doing a short next, like, but I'm writing a feature, and I'm getting more into the horror genre, which is kind of where I want to end up. You know, like, I think horror movies now, there are some exceptions, but I think horror movies now are so bad. Usually, I mean, they're good, but they all use the same things.
Yeah, and maybe this is a stupid comment, but I think you'll know what I mean. If you put 5 trailers for me in front of, and they're all horror movies, you can tell which ones are gonna be good and which ones are the generic ones.
Yep, I agree. And it's like a lot of horror relies on jump scares, and you know, it has the same ABC order of just like I go into a theater, and maybe it's because I have a film degree, but I'm sitting there and within the first 30 minutes I know the end, and I'm frustrated by that. So I'm really excited to try to break into the industry and kind of make it better, because what the hell have we done to the horror genre? Because it makes me so sad. But I think doing a successful women-made horror would be so fun. And I'm gonna do it with a short first.
I don't know how much you've written or the script or anything. Can I die in it?
You want to like? I will say. Probably. I need a lot of, for the feature, I need a lot of background, like actors, and I need a lot of like, not necessarily.
I can't even die.
No. Oh, it's like so many people die. Like, I mean, I'll give you like a cameo in it. I don't care. But it's like, it takes place in the 70s. So you can reuse your wig.
I got it.
No, you can die in it.
For reference, I got no problem with saying this because I'll fucking send it right to Jaden. I got no problem with saying this. Fucking worked with that guy for a year, and we're working together on like future episodes and everything. Doesn't even offer a vocal cameo in Secrets of Eternity. That's his film that just came out. But he gave it to fucking Adrian, who he met on fucking Maddox.
Ooh, the trauma.
I've been so mad ever since then. You ask him, but I can't do it. One line. I can't get one line.
I'll let you die.
And I gave you a cameo, Jaden. Gave you a cameo, Maddox.
I'll give you like the most sadistic death possible.
That's fine. All right. Some like dreams I want to be in a horror film and die. I think that'd be awesome. Again, don't even got to be a main character. Just want to go on screen, die. Awesome.
Okay.
I want to play a dramatic role.
Okay.
I don't know. Range.
Range.
Had a third one I totally forgot right now. Maybe make a cameo in a Jaden film.
I mean, yeah. I'm trying to get back into acting a little bit. So maybe we can work out a swap.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Wait, there's this episode of GLEE.
I love GLEE. I love GLEE. Please tell me. Oh my God, I love GLEE.
Best episode of GLEE. It's called Props. Tina bangs her head and they all swap.
Yes.
Best fucking
in
episode.
The fountain.
Yes. Best episode. And also, Mr. Shu's a fucking weird character.
I love Mr. Shu.
Matthew Morrison as... Well, no, because I know everyone has like that weird...
Careful.
No, you know, like Mr. Shu's like a creep or something like that.
Yeah, mildly predatory.
Matthew Morrison is extremely talented.
Yeah.
But GLEE, I remember the pilot is absolutely amazing, and there's another episode I really liked.
The plot lines in GLEE, it's so funny. I did that thing with a couple friends where I'm like, or I want to do the thing where it's like, I'm going to give you some plot lines of GLEE and you got to tell me if they're true or if I made them up. And I don't make up a single one, and they're just so obscure. Oh my God, I love GLEE.
The most random one for me was, oh my God, I'm blanking on the
when Shu's wife couldn't get pregnant and she tried to buy freaking Quinn's baby from her. When Becky brought a gun to school.
Okay, that was fucking crazy. I was that, and then...
When Shu put weed in the kid's locker and, like, framed him, you're like, you're joining GLEE or I'm ratting you out.
That's like the pilot, too. That's like... There's so much shit that just fucking happened in GLEE. Also, if you end at season 3, that's like a good show right there.
Yeah, see, I made myself watch the whole thing.
I've seen the whole thing.
I had to watch the whole thing.
Season 4, not the worst.
But they start to go. Yeah. They go. But when they're all in New York is like when they go.
I didn't really care for the plot lines. Even though the Rachel Berry, her show being a flop, I'm like, that adds up.
That tracks.
And she can't fucking read.
I hated Rachel Berry. I hated
Mr.
Rachel
Shu?
Berry. Mr. Shu! And then she storms out. It's like, that you're real, but like, fuck off.
If you did a drinking game with GLEE, you'd be fucking plastered in the first 5 minutes.
I don't think I would like make it through the first. I would just drink. Oh my God, watching GLEE drunk.
Or when they're singing, I think it's "We Found Love," and they're all diving into the pool, and fucking Artie just rolls into it. I remember. I think I almost popped a blood vessel laughing.
So funny. When the whole cast. I love how this is just turning into a GLEE cast now.
Why not? I was supposed to be on a GLEE podcast years ago.
Oh my God, I'm gonna make a GLEE podcast. The episode where they were all in wheelchairs singing "Rolling on a River." Huh?
Or it was Quinn and Artie. They were singing "I'm Still Standing." That's fucking
Quinn in a
comedy.
wheelchair arc, like, sent me. Oh my god. I think they gave Quinn some of the most abstract plot lines in that show. Hello. She gives up her baby and then goes batshit. Like,
I just pray one day, if I can ever get an A-lister on Maddox, I just want someone from the Glee cast to sort of reprise their role.
do you know the guy that plays...
Maddox goes to McKinley. Why is
Write
everyone
that down,
fucking
write that down,
singing?
write that down, write that down. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Oh, can I play Rachel Perry? I can read. So...
Can you?
I think we're done here.
I can't do that. I'm terrible at spelling. I'm like the worst at spelling. Eliza and I were on the D-Lude podcast a couple days ago.
I saw, yeah.
And quite literally, when we were writing earlier that day, I spelled episode wrong like 3 times.
How'd you spell it?
E-P-I-S-O-I-D.
Episode.
Episode.
Okay.
But what else in Glee was just fucking... Darren Criss was a good part of that show. Burt Hummel was the best part of it.
Kurt singing Defying Gravity. I just listened to it the other day on Spotify. I was like, and please tell me why, like the new, because I know like Wicked is coming out on like a movie, whatever. I don't know her name. I'm not a Wicked person who's playing Elphaba.
In the movie?
Yes.
Cynthia Erivo.
Okay. Defying Gravity, her version came out, and I was like, all I hear is Kurt Hummel. And I'm here for it. I loved him. Oh my god, I loved Kurt. I'm a Kurt, like, oh my god.
He actually has a good voice. I know he writes books now, and apparently they're very successful books.
Yeah. I know the guy who plays Artie is currently in a show, Spelling Bee, which you wouldn't really do well in, but... But, do you follow him? How do you know that? How do you know that?
I'm a secreted theater kid. Do you not know this?
No!
Yeah, I played Professor Ted in Disaster, a couple of roles in like Shrek.
I knew that because of the
tap
podcast.
dance.
You can tap dance?
I've taken a couple classes. Dad, turn this off. I've taken a couple. Yeah.
Hello.
I've taken vocal lessons. My vocal lessons are my apartment, walking distance.
Huh,
We're cooking up something.
This is an interesting arc.
Yeah.
This is an interesting arc.
Do that. I could play light piano. It's
Okay.
very...
I tapped once in a show in high school because they came out and it was Broadway review, so it was just a bunch of like, you know, songs and dance numbers. It wasn't like a full play. It was just different. So the dance choreographers for this one number came out and they're like, "Does anybody have tap shoes?" Me. Why? Because I got them at a yard sale and I never took tap in my life. And they're like, "Okay, you're in the tap number because you have tap shoes." I was like, "I don't know how to tap." I tapped in that number. Yeah. That's the only time I ever tapped.
I like to point out Eliza and I were talking about Legally Blonde last episode and when I was in Shrek. And I'll say Nicole texted me and was like, "I think you're Nisha's theater kids," because all those stories, like those 2 stories, blew up like a couple thousand views, and I was like,
"Yeah."
It's like, fuck, we're talking about Glee and everything. I was like, that might be the niche.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, but like theater kid derogatory.
But like, also, here's the thing. I wasn't a theater kid. I was not a theater kid. I've done 4 musicals. Yeah, I've done 4. No, 5.
So you're a theater kid. That's what I'm hearing. Because you've done more than me. And I was in theater in high school.
I did Les Mis. That's a hard one. Not gonna lie.
What shows did you do?
Aladdin, where I played Jafar. Wouldn't do it nowadays. I was like old enough to know better. I was 14.
Oh boy.
Aladdin, Shrek, Les Mis, Disaster. I'm missing one. Fuck, I'm missing one. Let me go to the archive.
Let me just pull out my secret playbills
let
of
me
Brandon's
go to the
musicals.
gravestone.
I did Cinderella. Oh my god,
Should I call my mom and ask her?
Yes. Yes. I've never met your mom.
Her name's Deborah.
Hey, Deborah. Watch her not answer.
I'm busy.
What do you want?
I don't know, like...
Hello?
Hi, Mom. I'm recording a podcast right now, and I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
All right. I think I did 5 musicals: Aladdin, Shrek, Les Mis, and Disaster. Am I missing one?
She's racking her.
She's getting like PTSD.
I am. I had to see that twice, and it was painful.
What? I thought I did another one. Maybe I didn't.
You just wanted to be a theater kid so bad.
Yeah, I guess your first one was Aladdin?
Yeah. What a high note.
Starting off
Yeah,
strong.
and then it went downhill.
And that's why he hasn't done it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Hence why I never paid for theater lessons.
Oh my god.
All right. Thanks, Mom.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
At least she said I love you. If I called my mom, I don't know if she would say I love you. I love that she answered. My mom won't answer.
Answer on the dot.
If I call her,
No,
she won't
'cause
answer.
If I call her, she like I'm convinced every time I call her, she thinks I'm like dying. Like
She panics. She sees her name and she's like, "Oh shit!"
Oh my god.
I did Cinderella. Guess who I was in Cinderella?
Cinderella.
No,
Okay, that was a safe answer.
it was like no, like think of me as a person and who I was cast as Cinderella.
I don't really know Cinderella. Prince Charming. They saved that role for me.
No, okay, you don't know the story of Cinderella?
She goes to the ball and she has to be back.
What happens before the ball?
I only know the Camila Cabello version. No, because she's like a little.
Who's her family?
Adina Menzel.
No, in the
It's the bad grandmother.
grandmother.
What is it?
Stepmother.
Stepmother. And then she has her 3 little asshole sisters, right?
2.
2?
Yes.
Could you tell I was much a Nickelodeon kid growing up?
Yes. I was one of the evil stepsisters.
Okay.
Tracks, actually. And I was. I'm gonna stop talking about.
You're gonna be lucky if this makes the episode.
Oh, I just got blinded. That's
God himself. Oh,
That's
man.
God.
What's up? What's up, man? Oh wait, I gotta do an outro.
Oh.
Okay. No wait, I'll go on that side. I'll go on the other side.
Oh!
Yes.
Did we ever explain why we're dressed like Scooby Doo?
It comes out like Halloween.
Okay.
Thanks for watching the Laugh Track podcast.
Bye.
Bye.